Hi there, in this video, I'll be showing you how to create a sci-fi ambience sound effect by breaking down the redesign that I did of the short clip from Warframe. I'll be showing you the different components that I use and the different parts of a ambience that you do want to have every time you create an ambient sound effect. So with that said, let's get right into our project. All right, so here we are inside of Reaper, and when I'm designing some sort of ambience sound effect, really any ambient sound, there's kind of three components, three parts that I want to make sure I kind of touch on as I'm designing, or at least that I'm thinking about as I'm designing. And one of those things is going to be beds, or like sound beds. These are going to be sounds that are going to last throughout the entire duration of a clip or of an instance or of an environment. The other one are going to be like interjecting elements. These can be randomized or just not. It depends on what you're creating. And then, of course, you can have your one-shots. This is going to be if you have different like objects or things that are going to be placed specifically in an environment. If you're doing kind of a linear redesign, if you're doing something in a game engine, then it's going to be sounds that are attached to objects within the game. So why don't we start right here? So with the sound beds, I really want to ground it in reality. So what I did is I used sounds that I had recorded from my most recent library, which was my ATV library, which I have right up here. So if I take off the effects here and we just listen to it, this was my starting point. I really wanted to have some sort of like motor sound, engine sound to kind of get this feel of this spaceship, this sci-fi spaceship. So it sounds like this. Right, so I had this loop when the ATV was an idle, and I was able to capture that. And then what I did here is I just added some effects to it. Really, it was just manipulator, and I was just playing around with the different dials here until I got some sort of like crazy sounds. So it sounded kind of like this here. So once I had that in place, this is what I had next. Right, so that is the file I had with manipulator applied on here, and then I just printed that out here. Once I had that now, what I wanted to do is put it into Faceplant and see if I can create something a bit different, a bit more sci-fi with it, and see what I can do with it. So inside of Faceplant, what I did here is I just added a unison frequency stack, and then with that, I added a low-pass filter, and I just played really low on my keyboard, and this is the sound I was able to get. Right, so it's really low, so I added a gain. But yeah, I really like that kind of low sub bass sound rumbling, and then there's also kind of some other like artifacts in the sound that you don't quite know what it is. So I kind of like that. It kind of made it feel like it belonged as part of this ambience, as part of this sci-fi ship. Then in here, you can see here, what I did is I added Soothe 2. Yeah, so let's just turn everything off and see what difference this makes here. All right, sounds good. And now what Soothe 2 is actually doing, it's actually bringing down certain frequencies that are kind of peeking and poking through. If we have a listen now, you can see them here. But what I did instead is I put it into delta, so you actually only hear what it's actually cutting out. So I wanted those kind of peaks to really poke out, not be taken away. So I really wanted to bring that out. So that's what the delta is doing here. And then what I did is I kind of blended it back in here with the dry signal using the wet dry knob up here. After that, it was just a matter of like, again, I wanted to really bring out these kind of peaks, these kinds of resonant peaks, because I felt like they were really helping to give character to the sound. So that's what I did there with the EQ and Soothe 2. So with that, I really had this nice drone bass sound that kind of felt like it was an engine because it came from like an engine sound. So it really worked out. Yeah, this was like my bass for this scene here. All right, so once I had that, I knew I had a kind of a sub bass element that was the engine for the ship, and that would last the entire duration of this kind of sequence. No matter where the character is in this scene, it didn't really matter because you would always hear kind of the roaring or the turning of the engine. So I really wanted that to be part of it. So after that, that's when I went into thinking about, okay, so that's cool. I have this kind of bass ambient sound there, but now I want to have some sort of like interjecting elements. So like I said before at the beginning, I like to have bass interjecting elements and then some sort of like one shots. So for interjecting elements, I wanted to have something that was a bit more granular. And again, I wanted to keep on going with my theme here of using my ATV sound pack to see if I could get more kind of character out of it and see what else I could create if I could integrate it into some sort of like ambience design. So these are the sounds that I use here. And this was actually like some accessory sounds from just in the middle of the ATV. There's like a little cubby bucket thing where you can like store keys and like whatever else. So I was just playing around with whatever was in there. Then after that, it was just a matter of like really transforming this sound to make it granular. So let's just have a listen to see how I transform this sound into a usable granular ambient sound. All right, so with that, I could have some interjecting elements as part of the design here, and I kind of put it here at the beginning where you had kind of the computer, so you had kind of some tech stuff, and then I put it here at the end again where you have more computer-ish elements here. So whenever this kind of like this high-tech stuff or like computers, things like that, that's where I put this granular stuff. So it kind of was associated with those objects. All right, and I had another kind of, well, I say interjecting elements here. It only came in once, but this is it right here. Let's have a listen to this one here. Sounds kind of like a fan or something like that. And this also taken from my ATV pack here. Let's have a listen. So this was a recording of me driving the ATV around. And so let's just see how I transform that recording into the sound here. Right, and this element here was just for when the character here enters this kind of area. I want it to be kind of like the sound of a light or some sort of other element that was kind of on this left side, so that as he passed by, you kind of hear it, and then it kind of fades out into the distance. And if we have a look at what I did in terms of automation here, you can see I did a bit of automation here with the EQ, so that it kind of cuts it out over time here. All right, so far for our ambience bed here, let's just have a listen to these three elements and see how they kind of work together here. All right, after that, it was just a matter of adding some extra detail to the different items and things inside of the environment here. So one of the things that I had here was a fan. So if we have a look here, there's kind of like this pressurized fan here that you can see here where there's like, I don't know if it's like steam or smoke or something coming out of there. So I want to have something for that. So this is what I got here. And the way that I created this sound here, was taken from the engine fan of the ATV. So I had a recording of it up here. Sounds like this. So I just cut out a little section that, as you can see down here, this is what this was here. I cut out a little section of it, and I think I brought it into faceplant. And from here, I just added some flanger, and I just kind of printed it out. And then I added a few other effects here. So if we have a listen to it without any of the effects. So it's pitch shifted, and then I just added a bit of EQ. And recenter to kind of move it around in the stereo field as the player passes by. And that's it. So that's how I created this one. Again, I really wanted to kind of make use of this new sound library that I created. So I was able to do that using that right there. So that was the vent or the fan there. After that, it was just a matter of having some other elements, some sci-fi elements. So for example, when he walks through this room, you have like a lot of like tech gadgets and stuff like that. So there's a few things I added on here, such as this one here. This is just taken from my steampunk sound pack, and honestly, I just dropped sounds in here and I just panned them. There wasn't not much processing on here. I think maybe a bit of EQ to cut out the highs, but that's it. So it sounds just as is. That was more for like this gadget here, or maybe something right behind it. It's nothing really a key focus or focus element. After that, I had some other sounds here. Right, I wanted to have some sort of like pressurized things here, and this was using my ATV sound pack. I just had some loops, and I just put it through faceplant here with a bit of effects. As you can see here, I was using a RID mod, and then I could just print that out, just perform it and print it out. Here I had the computers at the beginning, and this was just part of a sound pack. I just kind of put that in there, and then finally I had a bit more tech sounds here. And again, here, just some EQ to cut out some of the highs and recenter to position it. But this is from another sound pack of mine, my robotic sound pack. So yeah, just kind of drag and drop these in, and they kind of just worked as is. So I didn't really have to massage them too much to kind of fit it in. But those were like the one-shots, the one-shot elements that I had. So I had my ambience bed here, as you can see at the top. I had my kind of interjecting elements, if you will, where I had my granular stuff and this other ambient bed. And then I just had these kind of individual elements that I have as part of the scene to kind of fill it out more, to make it more live. Right after that, it was just a matter of adding some miscellaneous items like the door here and the transition element once the player hits at the end. Right, but in terms of sound design ambiances, you can see here exactly how I have it set up: beds, interjecting elements, and one shots. All right, so I hope you found this video useful and valuable. If you like this one, I think there's another one you're going to like where I did a lava ambience from scratch. I kind of did a breakdown just like this where you can see the different elements that I use. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll make sure to put it on the screens here or in the cards above. And if you're interested in picking up the sound pack that I mentioned in this video, the ATV sound pack, I'll make sure to also have a description in the link below if you're interested in seeing that. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching all the way through to the end. If you have any questions, leave it down below. I do my best to answer them. If I don't, for whatever reason, I always do read all the comments, so I really appreciate it if you do. And that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.